Hi everyone, Mrs. Basega here, and today we're looking at the different types of energy. Let's start off with a basic definition of energy. When we talk about energy, what I mean is the ability to do work. Energy is a quantity that could move an object, and it comes in many forms. You probably remember from eighth grade that energy is always measured in joules, but in your daily life, you might have heard of calories. Calories are another unit of work or energy. On your electrical bill, you'll see energy measured in kilowatt hours. So, energy is the ability to do work. If an object is literally moving, we call those energies of motion. And those are kinetic energy, that's the energy of a massive object in motion. Kinetic energy symbol is Ke, and it's measured in joules, just like all the energies are. Radiant energy, and that's the energy of waves like sound or light, or any of the electromagnetic waves. Radiant energy isn't really going to have its own separate symbol just yet. We'll get back to it when we do the light unit. Electrical energy is the electrons moving in a circuit. So it's still an energy of motion, because this time it's the electrons flowing from the negative terminal of the battery to the positive terminal. And finally, thermal energy is actually just kinetic energy in disguise. Instead of the energy of a big, massive moving object like a person or a car or a baseball, thermal energy is the energy of individual particles, those atoms or molecules that are vibrating. We feel those as heat. Something that's very, very cold has molecules that aren't vibrating as quickly, so it doesn't have as much thermal energy. Potential energies are energies that have the ability to move in the future. Notice that in all of these, your object is stationary to start, where it's storing the energy. But if something happens, that energy could be released. Like gravitational potential energy, for instance. Right now, the car at the top of the hill isn't moving, but it could be. If I kick it just a little, it's going to start to change that gravitational potential energy into kinetic energy. So gravitational potential energy is a ability to move the object. What about elastic potential energy or spring potential energy? The more he pulls back on that rubber band, the more spring energy is stored, the faster the rock is going to travel when he releases it. Elastic potential energy is going to include springs, tensions, bowstrings, rubber bands, anything that you stretch and snaps back into shape. Chemical potential energy. These are objects that start at rest and something starts a chemical reaction. In the case of a bomb, the fuse starts a chemical reaction, causing it to release that chemical energy as heat, light, sound, and damage. In your digestive system, enzymes in your body break down all of the food. I'm not a chemist here. Breaks down all the food, and it turns that chemical potential energy into the heat, sound, and kinetic energy of you. All of your energy comes from the food you eat. And finally, nuclear potential energy. Imagine that this nuclear weapon started at rest, and some triggering event, a release of a certain number of neutrons, some triggering event released that nuclear potential energy, turning it into heat, light, sound, kinetic energy, and damage. All in all, you should be able to identify all 8 of these types of energies, classify it either as energies of motion or potential energies, where they're storing energy due to their position that could be later released if something starts it. Later, the ones you'll need to calculate are kinetic, gravitational potential, and possibly spring and electrical, depending on which class you're in. All right, everyone, best of luck.